because we'll stumble.
And what's the name of this podcast again?
Are you serious?
No, I remembered. It just came to me. Well, how many times do we have to do a retake that one time?
What
A lot, but you've never
What
asked
is
me
the
ahead
name
of
of the
time.
podcast?
Shut up and listen. Small town stories.
Oh.
With Sarah.
And
Shut
Renee.
up and listen.
That's
Mhm.
right.
That's
Yeah.
right.
Okay.
So shut up and listen. Commissioner
sir.
Kershner is here today.
Let's
Yeah, I
do
heard
that.
that.
We just did. She's recording.
Shut up and
You are recording?
Oh yeah, these are the best outtakes. She'll start recording to test the sound, but
Uh-huh.
really just to get
Yeah.
Here to have a good
the
time.
good stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's-
Mm-hmm.
All right.
Great, keep it up.
All right. We'll officially kick off this episode of Shut Up and Listen
Small town stories
with Sarah.
and Renee.
And I am going to speak for both Sarah and myself today. I have been giddy with excitement.
That is true. She's been
Yeah.
talking about this since it was scheduled.
about this podcast episode because today we are with the one, the only, the infamous Commissioner Mike Kershner.
Yes.
Seneca County
Yeah.
Commission.
Seneca County. Yes.
Of all the
Thank
inter-
you for
Of
specifying.
all the introductions, that's the most recent.
Well, I'm glad.
Oh my gosh, you feel super special now.
Yeah.
Most
my.
recent.
Yeah.
That's the best introduction I've ever done.
It really is. That's the most
It was
hype.
heartfelt too.
Well, I'm
It's
excited.
not
Well, you can be happy, but you can't be more than happy because when people are more than happy, they put them away for that stuff.
Oh, okay.
So you
Good
can-
to know.
Yeah. So
Good
you can't
to
be
know.
more than happy to do this, but you can be happy to do it.
I'll just be happy then.
Okay, that's a good.
Just happy. So, first and foremost, thank you for agreeing to go on this adventure with us.
Although an adventure it might be.
It could be.
Let's
It
see.
could be.
Let's see where this road goes.
Listen.
Yeah, because you've had a busy morning already. You just came out of a meeting, and
Well,
so
I
we
actually was on,
appreciate
I
it.
was on the radio this morning. We had a board meeting this morning. So plus the commissioners meeting. We've had a good day so far.
So far, let's hope we don't ruin that for you.
Yeah.
We won't. We won't. It's going to take it to the next level for him. So, I guess for our listeners, and we do have a variety of ages, different states that tune in, etc.
All 6 people.
All 6, yes. We're hoping with you we get 7.
Okay.
I mean, the bar is set pretty high here, Mike.
So, we can call by individual names if we have to.
So,
I love it because you already have her flustered. This is
I
going
know.
to be great.
Seriously.
Hmm.
So, why don't you tell us a little about yourself?
Well, okay.
What would you like people to know?
Well, the most important thing is that I got 8 grandbabies. And that they
You
take
have
up,
8?
yes, I do. For a while, every time 2 of my kids went to bed, 3 got out. So, so I have them ranged from like a baby,
Mhm.
born 2/22/22, last
Wow.
one, which is a neat date, right? And I have a couple that are now driving.
Wow,
Mm.
so
So
they run
everything
the
in the-
gamut.
Everything in between, yeah. So
Mm-hmm.
that is an accomplishment that overtakes anything else that we've been able to do.
Mhm.
And also, Joel and I have been married almost 50 years. Now,
Congratulations.
that is an amazing thing. Yeah, if she'd have shot me the first time she thought about it, she'd been out of jail by now. So we're just, those are, of all the things that we've been able to do, that certainly is
Mhm.
the most exciting to me. And I thank God that that's happened. But from a career standpoint, I started in the banking business in 1973, a long time ago.
And you were what, 10 then?
12.
12.
Okay.
Okay.
Mhm.
Okay.
21.
Child genius.
21 actually in 1973. And I got my first job as CEO of a bank when I was 29.
Wow.
When you look around at 29-year-olds today, you wonder, what was anybody thinking to give some kid that job?
Different
But-
time.
Yeah, different time. Not that much different. I mean, we didn't have to write to work on dinosaurs or anything, but it was a while ago. So I've been running the bank, actually I got my first job in 1982, which would have made me 30, except it was before my birthday, so I was 29.
Hmm.
And from 1982 until 2010, we ran a bank. We started a bank in Florida sometime in the late 2000 or early 2000s, and that bank has since been sold. But we started out with 0 assets in a place called Lehigh Acres in Naples, And we sold that bank. It was about $2.5 billion with a B dollars when we sold it. So to give you some perspective of that, you know, the larger banks, community banks around here are somewhere south of 800 million. This baby went to 2.5, from 0 to 2.5 billion. So that's a great accomplishment. And somewhere along that path, someplace like 2014, we decided to run for commissioner.
Mm-hmm.
And the main reason at that point was because the courthouse issue was going on, right? A lot of folks wanted to keep the old building, 1884 building, which I understood. And a lot of folks said it's time for it to come down. Unfortunately, there was a lot of controversy over that, but nobody could make a real decision. So I thought maybe we could come in and do that. Well, as it turns out, it's a nice looking building. We've got it up. The municipal court and the 2 common police courts are together. 3 common police courts, actually. So that's been a great accomplishment, I think. I guess that's a little bit of a summary. First time I met you, when I decided to run for campaign, and I had lunch with you and Eric Keckler, the mayor of Fostoria, at the Black Cat. Is that
The Black
It would have been Kimosabi's at the time.
Yeah,
Yeah.
okay. I remember it as a Black Cat, yes.
Yep.
And you guys are very pleasant. I didn't know a lot of folks in Fostoria, although I have sat on the economic board when I was president of the bank.
Okay.
Maybe 1 or 2 terms, and I think I sat on the foundation for a little bit. But it was, you guys were very pleasant, very welcoming, and I appreciated that. So that was 9 years ago.
Yes.
So you were new in your role.
I was.
Yeah.
I was. And I think this would be a good time for me to openly admit to our 6 listeners that
Maybe 7. He said he
Maybe
did 7.
7.
Yeah.
that actually for the first few years that I was in my role and you were county commissioner, I was absolutely terrified of you.
Really?
Oh my God, yes.
How could you be terrified of me?
No, I really don't know, but you were very scary for a while. You're not anymore. We've crossed that bridge. It's fine. But there for a while.
Well, it's funny how different people perceive you. You know, I mean, you think that you have an open door policy, and you think you're very approachable, and you try to be that way. At least I do. But there are, more people have said that than I would like to even remember. But I guess sometimes it's the aura that you convey out there, and you don't mean to, but sometimes you're just trying to get things accomplished and working towards a goal and working towards the end of a meeting or whatever, and come across as maybe gruffer than you should.
No, I don't. You never really came across as gruff. I think it was you are a business person, and you don't bullshit a bullshitter. And I was not going to get on your bad side. So for the first few years, I worked really hard to make sure I didn't.
Well, my impression was that you're a hardworking young lady and that you're going to be successful.
Oh, that's very kind.
And that's going to be true. So I can't recall any situation in which I wasn't happily surprised with the results of what you accomplished.
Why, thank you.
That's why I'm so glad to be able to do this.
So
Hold on. Can we
I can
cut
try.
there?
Yeah, that happened on my podcast the other day too.
Yeah, we can hardly hear you now.
Yeah, let's see.
Sorry, it's getting a little toasty
Yeah.
in here.
It's okay.
See, that came up right when I was trying to compliment
I
you.
know, they can cut that out.
I know. I stopped myself. I'm like, look at the love fest. And I was like, I'll let him have the moment.
No.
Air conditioning did it.
You were intimidating, right?
Too bad that this ball-headed old guy be intimidated.
Intimidating. And let's be honest, I have seen you upset with people.
Oh, yeah.
And I have worked really hard not to have that directed at me.
It happens.
Motion on the sleeve, pretty much, and we handle things head on.
Yeah.
I don't like to see things fester.
And the longer I've done this, the more I've come to appreciate that.
Yes. Because there's very few people that are direct. If there's conflict, they want to go and talk to everybody else. Just go. Just handle it.
Yeah.
Take care of it.
I mean, you want everybody else, but that's not going to happen.
No.
No.
You know, the only thing you can do is tell it the way that it is. And if you do what you
There's no
know
off. Yeah, like.
if you do what you know is the right thing, you don't have to worry about remembering what you said.
And if
Because
end of the day, if
I
you're
tried that like.
if you're if you're really doing your job and you're doing it right,
So like 7
everybody's not gonna like
it.
Yeah,
No.
that's
That's
and nothing happened.
Well, when you put your head on the pillow at night, you gotta know that you did the best.
yes.
You could do. You know, I mean, some
Yeah,
people
and
along
that's
the way are gonna be angry with you, but
Okay.
Such
Okay.
is life.
Hopefully that
there's
stays.
a whole lot of people
Yep.
that wanted them. You know,
Okay,
the courthouse,
sorry about that.
A whole lot of people.
We got a whole degree we can work with. Let's go.
Yeah, that was an extremely controversial issue
Oh yeah.
that ripped through the. I mean, it was very
The
emotional
courthouse
for a lot
oh
of people.
yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely was, and
Yeah.
I empathize with them because I knew where they were coming from. But the fact is that and then there was a big deal where we're going to build it. Well,
Right.
why is it called Courthouse Square? I mean, this is pretty simple to
Yep.
me. But they wanted all of a sudden a green space, and
Yep.
But it turned out okay.
It did. It did.
So you are winding down your commissioner career.
Whining or winding?
Winding.
Oh. Okay.
It could be the other.
I don't know. Are you whining about it?
So as you look back, what would you consider your biggest accomplishment as county commissioner?
Well, I mean, one of the things we really didn't have any strategic plan.
Mhm.
Okay, I mean, there was one on the shelf that was like from 2005 or something, but
Mhm.
nobody ever looked at it. So, the old saying is, if you don't know where you're going, any road will get you there, and that's pretty much where we were. One of the first things I did before I ran is somebody give me a job description of commissioner, will you?
There wasn't one.
There's nothing that exists. Nothing
wow.
that exists today, actually. Statutorily, I think you have to be here once a month or once every 3 months or some crazy thing like that. So all the different commissioners, I digress a little bit here, but all the different commissioners handle things differently. Some folks were here once a day. Some folks were here once a month. Some people are here every day. But I took it on as a 40-hour-a-week job because I really thought, that the people earned it. I mean, you get elected to do a job, you should do it. So we try to be here as often as possible and keep the door open and answer phone calls and do all those kind of things. So doing a strategic plan, getting back to your question, I think was important so we understood what the roadmap is for the future, right? Looking at, we pretty much were, duct taping our problems, if you will, literally and figuratively. If we had a problem with a facility, we would fix it and hope that it didn't break again, rather than doing it the right way, either building a new building or remodeling the office as it should be. Those kind of things too. We never talked about putting money away for the future. We try to do things the opposite, if you will, of what the federal government has. Right now, we're using our grandbabies' piggy banks to pay for the kind of stuff we're doing. I think, as being fiscally responsible, that you need to put some money away so that if tough times happen again, and they will, that there's some place to put your hand in a little jar and say, okay, previous commissioners have put some money away for us, and we can use this for operating. And I came in a time when we actually 8 years ago closed offices on Friday because we didn't have enough money to operate on a full-time basis. And you gotta have a good sense, I think, of history to understand what you need to do to prepare for the future, right? So, having a rainy day fund, the budget stabilization fund, I think was important. We now have more than $1 million in there. We hope to put, I hope, on a quarterly basis, continue to put money in there. And then who would have ever guessed about a pandemic?
Right.
And all these things that happen, and we have Zoom meetings and all that kind of stuff happens, and so that to navigate that was certainly a special voyage. We allow the Board of Elections to have a facility in Seneca County that makes sense. The other one was basically a cubby hall that didn't allow for a lot of folks, handicapped and otherwise, to get in to vote. We've taken care of that issue. We've taken care of the issue with the prosecutors' offices and made those a lot better for people.
So you've really looked at long-term sustainability for the county as you have been county commissioner.
Yeah, I think that's true because you can take care of problems as they arise and be reactive or be proactive and start doing things that make more sense and make it easier, hopefully, for the people that succeed you to be successful.
In your time as commissioner, I mean, you did definitely accomplish a lot. I guess, how has your perspective of your role changed since you first started to now as you're, kind of on your own retiring?
That's a good question, because one of the things, running a bank, you would listen to everyone, but the decision was yours at the end of the day. Okay? So you evaluate what you thought, you do the financials, and you come up with a decision. You learn pretty quickly here that it's, if you want to make sure something doesn't happen, give it to a committee. Well, that's pretty much what we do here. Okay? So you have to have at least one other person agree with you before you can go forward. And it's tough not being able to be the person that is the one that's the decision maker to say to a group, this is the way it's going to be. What you have to say is, my viewpoint is, but I don't speak for all three commissioners.
Right.
So that's a tough transition, and I was going to be one and done, one term 4 years ago, but then the turbine thing happened. And at that point, most people won't recall, it doesn't matter, but at that point it was 2-1 on the commission for the turbines and against, and I was the guy against. So I felt as though if I left in the middle of that, I kind of abandoned that group and decided to stay and run again. If somebody would have stepped up, that would have been a good pro person as it relates to the anti-wind folks. I probably wouldn't have run, but that person didn't appear, so I ran again.
So I also think it's interesting because when you came in, there was the courthouse issue, and then you navigated the wind turbine issue, which were both very controversial, and things got kind of heated. What piece of advice would you give community leaders that you've learned along the way dealing with those controversial issues? What advice would you give on how to navigate that?
Yeah, the best advice is just try to keep the emotion out of it. And as we talked about, just confront it on a factual basis and make a decision and move forward with that decision and be committed to it. And not waffle and not tell one group one thing and another group something else. You've got to have the same message all the way through. And in theory, if we can, we like to have all three folks have the same message all the way through. That doesn't always happen. But, you just got to be upfront with folks. Tell them the facts as you know them. Some things they don't like to hear. And you're always going to get the naysayers, and you're always going to get people that come in and give you heck about stuff. But just get the emotion out if you can and move forward as quickly as you can.
Is there anything that you wish you had accomplished?
Yeah, I joked about the fact that, if you want to get something done, make sure it doesn't get done, is give it to a committee. I think the best form of government, and if I had my way, if I were king for a day, we would go with the strong administrator. And the auditor and the clerk and the treasurer and the recorder would all be positions that are hired based on qualifications. Not that the folks that are in those positions are doing a bad job. It's just that it's a popularity contest, and those are really results-driven kind of jobs. So I think that a better form of government, from my perspective, would be to have a strong administrator, and that person then can oversee the operations of the county, as opposed to popularity contests. And I'll say this out loud because I believe it. We spend way too much money on politicians and political subdivisions. Each of us in there are making $60,000 or $65,000 or whatever that number is, times 3. When that money, at least in my mind, could be better spent on a good county administrator, somebody that was a real professional. And maybe the commissioners come in and make decisions as it relates to budgets and maybe some other major things. But, once a month, pay them a few $1,000s to do that and go forward with that. Again, I said earlier, you can spend as much time or as little time as you want, and you don't have anybody to report to except to the voters.
Right.
And it's a 4-year term. Sometimes people refer to it as a 4-year sentence. It's a 4-year term, and you're really not accountable. And an administrator would be accountable to the county and to the commissioners, whereas the commissioners, and frankly, most of the elected officials, have minimum standards that they can achieve and stay in office.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
And the decision is with the voter in the end. But I mean, that's, I think, something that if I could wave a wand, that's what I would do.
Mm-hmm.
What has been the most surprising aspect of public service that you have found over the last 8 years, good or bad?
Well, it's been good. I like to be part of the action. When you run a bank, you get involved in things, and you're part of a lot of different groups. The best thing that I can say is that I'm amazed and happy and just thankful for the number of volunteers in the county. Virtually every board that's out there, these people are giving their time and treasure, right? I mean, simple things like the health department board, but also Great Lakes Community Action Partnership and the Historical Society, and certainly all the volunteer EMS people, volunteer firemen. Every group that comes in here is comprised a lot of people that are giving of their time.
Mm-hmm.
And that's really the fabric that holds the county together, it holds the community together. The rest of us come and go. These people are real committed to whatever that specific group is or club is. And you got to give them a lot of credit for that. I mean, volunteerism, it's just amazing. We tried to do that throughout my career, to make sure we're part of economic development, Tiffin, and make sure we're part of the Red City United Way, and whatever else came up. But I'm astounded at the number of hours and the ability that people have to be able to be part of these volunteer groups. So kudos to all those folks. I guess from a negative standpoint, there's a lot of people that just wake up pissed off.
Preach it. Just preach it.
Yeah.
I'm not sure. I know I couldn't live a life like that.
Yeah.
But, I run into over the 8 years, many of the same people, many of the same circumstances that are just angry.
Mm-hmm.
About nothing in particular.
Yeah.
They're just angry. And I find that hard to believe. And you put up with it. The old saying is you got to put up with them for 10 minutes and they got to be themselves the rest of their life. But
that's a good one.
I love all your
I got to remember that.
I love all your sayings.
But I can you imagine getting up in the morning mad?
No.
And I think some people live like that, and it's exacerbated in that they then use you as a receptacle for their anger. Because you happen to be a politician or a public figure or whatever it is. They don't find me unapproachable, that's for damn sure.
Well, no.
Because they're the angry ones usually don't.
Yeah, they approach way the hell too much. Yeah. So I guess those are the two, the positive side of things certainly outweighs the negative.
Yes.
But, there are some negatives out there, during the turbine thing, I think one of the worst that you remember moments of life, right?
Yeah.
During the turbine thing, there was a group that were pro turbines and whatever that spent, believe it or not, the last campaign, $40,000 in ads to try to get me out of office, which I was astounded with. They spent a whole lot more money trying to get me out than I tried to get in. That's number one. But they put an ad in the paper on the radio that said, here's Mike Kerschner. He dislikes school children because he's given tax money back.
I remember
my
that.
8-year-old grandson said, Pop, how come you don't like kids? So I said, well, that's crazy shit, But stuff like that happens. And, remember a lot of the good things, but also those bad moments.
Yeah.
Remember?
My last official question for you is, do you have any advice that you would have for someone considering a future run for county commissioner or any elected position?
Yeah, make sure that you're doing it for the right reasons. And the right reasons, at least from my viewpoint, are to carry out the wishes of those people that put you in office. And that when you make a decision based on that and that only. That there aren't any other little sub-stories out there, or you're not trying to assist somebody else. You always have the special interest groups that come to you and say they want you to do this or they want you to do that. But, as I say, when you put your head on the pillow, you want to make sure that the decisions you made are objective decisions based on what's in the best interest of the county.
Mhm.
And I can say that I think in virtually every case, that's what I've tried to do. Now, you can disagree with the decision, and that's fine. But I can certainly justify it by saying, I believe this is really what's in your best interest, and therefore I'm going to move forward down this path. And make sure that you're committed to it. There is a lot of stuff that people don't realize that you do. I mean, there's a lot of evening meetings. There's a lot of conversations you have with citizens about, there's a deer in my yard and nobody will come and get it. So, stuff that you never really
It's
thought.
all very glamorous,
Yes,
isn't
it
it?
is.
As I will tell, so I've told Jimmy, our public relations guy, and Stacy, our previous administrator, this is somebody will call and I'll say, this is 375th on the list of shit I care about. but I got to handle it,
Yes.
So you just be willing to be able to handle stuff that really doesn't have a lot of effect on you personally, but you're trying to take care of folks out there. And try, as I had said earlier, to handle the job as objectively as you can and take your own personal emotion out of it. We all have a basis from which we come. We all have our experiences, and we kind of internalize things sometimes. But you can't do that. You got to do what you think's in the best interest of the voter.
Yep.
So, as you only have a few more months, what, I guess, parting words would you have for Seneca County and the
Goodbye.
constituents? Other than goodbye. Goodbye, I'm going to retire and go somewhere warm.
Yes.
What's
the name of the podcast? Sit down and
Shut up and listen.
Shut up and listen.
That would be my advice to anybody
Shut up and
coming in.
listen.
Yeah, anybody that comes in here.
There you go.
That's exactly right. It's been a great run for me. I'm 70 years old at this point in time, and I'd like to enjoy a few things on the bucket list to get done. And I've been working since I've been 18. So, the time's come to, I don't know how I'm going to react to it. Frankly, this is the first time I've been without work, even from when I retired from the bank, because I worked for WSOS, GLCAP for a while, did some consulting, we raised some money for banks, and then I ran for office. So it's been a busy time all the way through. I'm not sure. I made it, I think, 3 or 4 days after I left the bank until I found something else.
Well, there's 8 little people that might be excited for more time.
Yeah, I'm going to spend a lot of time with them, a little bit of fishing and going to ball games and all those kind of things. So, I look forward to all that. But, my parting words pretty much are, just keep us rolling forward, keep things positive. Always try to collaborate whenever you can. Remember that you're not just representing 20,000 people in Tiffin, that you're representing 57,000 people in the county. Because sometimes we lose that. And stay enthusiastic. When I left the bank, the story was that we sat down at the end of the day and wrote out 2 envelopes. So the next guy, and I said, if you ever get in trouble at the bank, open the drawer and open envelope number 1. And then later on, open envelope number 2 if things happen. So a couple of years go by, and the new president of the bank got a little bit of trouble with the board of directors. And he was there one night, 7 or 8 o'clock at night, saying, my God, I don't know how I'm going to get out of this. So he opened the drawer and remembered and opened up envelope number 1, and it said, blame it on me. So he went back to the board and said, I tried to straighten this place out, but the previous guy had this messed up in the finally. So everything was smooth for a couple of years, and then 3 or 4 years later, another conflict happened, and he opened the drawer that evening as he was there stewing over his work, and he pulled it out, and the envelope said, or the letter said, sit down and write out 2 envelopes.
Oh my gosh.
So those are my parting words.
Those are good.
Yeah.
Those are good.
Yeah.
So, since you couldn't remember the name of the podcast, I assume you haven't listened to one before.
I was not one of the 6.
So you don't know, but we end every podcast with some rapid fire questions.
Coming out of Renee's brain, so brace yourself.
I have 6 questions for you.
Do I have to give you like 1-word answers, or can
The first thing that comes to your mind.
This
Okay.
could be really interesting.
We're going to start off with some simple ones.
Okay. Well,
Okay?
Because why?
I want to get you
I see.
get you firing on all cylinders.
Okay.
She brings the heat
Okay.
at the end.
All right, go.
So, favorite food?
Pizza.
Any particular kind?
Reno's.
Okay. Favorite holiday?
Christmas. It's got to be Christmas, right?
Favorite color?
Blue.
Best piece of advice you were ever given?
Keep your hands to yourself and your mind on Jesus.
Nice. If you could have a superpower, what would it be?
I'd like to fly, I think.
Okay. And last but certainly not least, your favorite thing about Seneca County?
It's just home. You know, it is a place that you can feel comfortable with. You know, we always say it's great to get back home, but I really sincerely mean that. Born and raised here, and I just don't know if I've been fortunate enough to be a number of places. I don't know a better place to be.
Well, Commissioner, first, thank you for your service.
Oh, you're welcome. Thank you for that.
And second, thank you for joining us today.
I'm happy to do it.
We
It was a
appreciate
pleasure.
it.
Okay.
And we hope that 6 can bump to, I don't know, maybe 10 after we have you on. We'll see.
Well,
Well, I
good.
think we
hope
have
so.
some
Well,
great quotes that we can.
We definitely have a lot of good sound bites, that's for sure.
So we'll do a sequel to this. We'll do a post-retirement Kershner. You know,
Okay.
Will it be
or
like when
whatever.
I see you on Seneca CEO Zoom meetings and there's palm trees in the
It
background?
will be.
Yes.
It will
Can
be
we go
like-
on
it
site
will be
and
very
visit you
much like
there?
that. Yes. Well, that was great when we could do Zoom meetings. You know,
I
that's
know.
one thing about the pandemic because I was coming back every other week or so, and you know, was sitting in my office doing a Zoom meeting and thought to myself, "Well, this is crazy. I could be doing the same thing in Florida with palm trees in the background."
Yes.
You know.
Mhm.
Yes. All right. Well, thank you all for listening to this episode of Shut Up and Listen
Small town stories
with Sarah.
and Renee.
Okay.
Thanks.
So you're
You
welcome.
were great.
What's the podcast
You
called?
were
Sit
great.
down and shut up.
That's great.
That was my
That's
favorite
great.
quote.
You
I
guys
want
learned a new
to
one.
keep your hands to yourself.
Yeah, yeah.
Jesus.
That needs to be the new
That's really good.
I love that.
Sit down and shut up. Is that it?
Shut up,
Shut
my
up.
face.
Shut up. Well, that's, you know.
It could be.
When you have kids,
Shut
the
up.
first 2 years, you try to teach them to walk and talk, and the next 18, tell them to sit down and shut
Shut
up.
up.
Yeah.
And keep your hands to yourself and your
Yes.
mind on Jesus.
Yes.
That too.
I love it.
Oh.